Greetings, my Israelite brothers and sisters, heirs, joint heirs, adopted, grafted. Y'all might say, wow, I'm pulling out here. I need to put my seatbelt on. Y'all might say, wow, twice in one day. So I titled this Paganism Lesson Coming Soon. I want to let you know what's going to be coming up in November so I can give you all the teaching schedule of what's going to be coming up soon. The paganism lesson. The paganism lesson that I'm going to be doing is going to go to an all high of information. I'm going to be bringing out these lessons so that when you have family that wants the information, you'll be able to break it down to them. Now, this is going to be a series, but the lessons are going to be dealing with the origins of these pagan holidays. And then I'm going to go into the Romeo political movement that took place when Emperor Constantine was in charge. And I'm going to be bringing in some historical books to show you what the political climate was at that time. Now, these books these are going to be history books, and they're important to know because when you're dealing with family members who are coming out of Romish Christianity, you have to realize that is a very strong indoctrination. It has a lot of roots in it. It's a tree that is very old, and the roots spread very long. So if you can imagine a tree that has limbs that are spread out, the experts would tell you that as wide as you see the tree, the span of the tree, the roots go out even further than that. So it's going to be important to bring in this lesson dealing with paganism coming up, because the holidays are coming up, and I have to bring all that in to show it to you so that hopefully you can show it to family members that are into Christmas and stuff like that. It is a very emotional time for a lot of people, a very emotional time. And that's why it's so hard to let go. What people go through during these times, they become socially emotional. Let me explain what I mean by that. It's a season that has been widely accepted as a time where people become friendly. It's traditional. It's a time where people become emotional. Suicide rates are very high during the so-called Christian Christmas holidays. People get lonely because all of a sudden they think about the need to be around family, because that is the agenda that is socially being pushed for people to spend time together. It's a time that when people they're programmed to be very kind, super kind to one another that time of the year. And that's why it's going to be something that's going to be hard for family to let go of. But this is why you have to go into the deep-rooted study that we're going to go on. Now, there's plenty of studies out there like that, but what I'm going to try to do is bring in some aspects of it that will, so your family can go to books. I'm talking about credible sources like the encyclopedia, world history books. We're going to go into all of that because family needs that. Unless you show them something like that, they won't accept it. You have to show them what's already been documented in books that they consider to be credible sources. And so when they see what's written in it, then it makes the inevitable obvious that it's pagan. So, that's one good thing that we're going to see when we do this. It's going to be an exercise. So the first thing is people are going to see that these dates do not exist in the scriptures. But then when they don't exist, then we're going to show politically what was taking place during Emperor Constantine's time that simply made him do that. And there's a reason why he did it. He did it because politically he wanted to make the world all one. That's what he wanted to do. Now I'm going to be on right now in this car cam for quite some time because I'm going to be breaking some things down from a social standpoint, political standpoint, and I'll mix in some biblical information with it. So if you got patience, I'm going to be on for a while because I got quite a long drive to go. Let me say this. There were, as you know, in the book of Daniel as a prophet and as a book tells you how the structure of the world is going to be set up. And there was only 4 kings or kingdoms that would rise from the earth. And they were Babylon, the Medes, and the Persians, which were one together, then the Greeks, and then the Romans. That's it. There is no there's no other kingdom after the 4th kingdom. That's the story of the statue. That's the story of the beast that Daniel saw coming up out of the earth. So when you look at all of that, you'll get a good understanding of the political structure that Rome tried to do. Now here's what Rome tried to do. The Babylonian kingdom under Nebuchadnezzar and his son Belshazzar, their philosophy was independence, but rulership. So there was one king that ruled all the kings of the earth, being Nebuchadnezzar and his son Belshazzar after he died. But they did not mind other kingdoms operating autonomously as long as they realized that Babylon was the kingdom over the entire earth. The Medes and the Persians knew that they had to take out Belshazzar, and that's even in the encyclopedia when you can read the story in the book of Daniel, how Belshazzar was having a party, and it was a Saturnalian party, because you can read, when we go into the pagan holidays, you'll see certain things that occurred in Saturnalia. You'll see that those same things were taking place when Belshazzar was having his party. Okay, so it's interesting to show that. Now, he got in trouble because he went down and took the vessels of the Most High that belonged to the children of Israel for the temple, and he started to use them, and he got in trouble. And that's when the Medes and the Persians came in and took him out. But then Alexander the Great came and took the Medes and the Persians out because they killed his father, Philip. And so when they killed Philip, he went in and he and four, I call it his school buddies, who, because they all studied under Aristotle, and he took Ptolemy, I think his name. I can't remember all of the generals' names. He made them all generals, but they all went to school together and studied under Aristotle. So when Alexander the Great came in charge, he lived just a short time, and then Greek was divided into four kingdoms. Now, Babylon and the Medes and the Persians and the Greeks always allowed everybody to operate within their own kingdoms. He allowed them to have their own cultures. That was their strategy. When Rome came along, Rome looked at history. Because the Greeks looked at history and they picked up what the Romans picked up how the Greeks were mastering being historians, and they took the information and decided, wait a minute, the three kingdoms prior to us allowed everybody to operate autonomously, and apparently that's not the best system, because the Medes and the Persians took over the Babylonians, and the Greeks took over the Medes and the Persians. So, and we took out the Greeks. This is Rome talking. So maybe perhaps we better do something different. And they did. So what Constantine felt was, we need to have everybody on the same page. And this is how Catholicism, or the papal bull, started to take Christianity, which was a legitimate doctrine, which was started by the Hebrews, and they took it to a different level. They used it for political purposes. They used it to taint the minds of the people. So they took, and that's why I call it Romish Christianity, because it was tainted. And what Emperor Constantine knew he had to do, his strategy was, let's have everybody under the same mind, same system, same language, same doctrine, same dollar, same everything. Let's just put everybody on the same page. Almost like a one world government type of thing. That is what Rome did through Emperor Constantine, and making sure that Rome stayed in power. One of the scriptures says that the fourth beast would be diverse from all of the other beasts that came before it. And how is Rome different? Rome, it was their objective to not allow governments to operate independently. So they decided, let's put everybody on the same page through the indoctrination of theology. Well, the problem that they had the pagans. And Constantine had a choice of belief. He could have picked the pagan ideology opposed to the Christian ideology. So that he used as a baseline, and he convinced the pagans, as he incorporated their religion or their pagan worship into Christianity. Hence, this is where the Christmas tree and the winter solstice, Samarias, trying to think of the other one's name. There were so many. The Queen of Heaven, through Easter or Astarte, all of those got incorporated and mixed in. The dates and the days got mixed in with Christian dates. So that's pretty much what happened as to why they decided let's do this. Let's get people on the same page. So that's why it was a political move. Now, once you show that documentation and those facts to individuals and you can show them, there's a reason why December the 25th as a date for the Messiah, for Jesus, is not in the Bible, because it's a pagan holiday. It was incorporated. It was mingled in. But you can't just say it. You have to show it to them. You got to show people in facts and books, because we're living in a society that respects education and the institution of education. They respect the information of credible sources and credible historians. So we have to use that as a leverage to show people where this stuff came from. Okay, you have to show that. Now, unfortunately, after we came here through the transatlantic slave trade, we was given that same doctrine. And it even goes back before then, back during the Spanish Inquisition. If we did not accept the doctrine, we were punished back in Spain and Portuguese. So this thing gets really deep as to what was forced on us, what was forced to be mixed in. So it's very powerful. That's why the scripture says this fourth beast will rule, or they will control without hands. That means without an army. Because Babylon, the other kingdoms, were afraid to go against Babylon. They knew if they wanted to overcome Babylon, they knew that they would have to go to war. And the Medes and the Persians knew that, because they were together and they knew what they had to do in order to overcome Babylon. Alexander the Great, he was just on a suicide mission. Now, if you read about Alexander the Great, he was just a young guy who was just upset after they killed his father. And so he just got his schoolboys together, and they was just, everybody, they grabbed all the young men, the young warriors. And Alexander the Great was a person that understood the art of war. And so there was fierce and anger in him. So all of that fierce and anger, he actually just took the Medes and the Persians out. That's what Alexander the Great did. Rome, on the other hand, because of the fact that the Greeks tried to, they couldn't unite within themselves. That's their problem. They could not unite within themselves. So they decided to rule in areas. And I believe there was 4 areas that they tried to rule in under one. And that did not work. Just did not work, because there was in-house fighting. There was really about 8 or 9 generals, and there's a whole list of them, and they narrowed it down to 4 because they were doing a lot of killing, a lot of backstabbing among, trying to set up which 4 was going to take control. And so Rome just came in with just a mass number, and when they took control, they said we're gonna get rid of all of the in-house fighting. We're gonna get rid of all of that, and there's not going to be everybody having you do your thing over here, do your thing over there, but as long as you realize we're in charge. No, they said that don't work. We need everybody on the same page. And Christianity was a movement back then. It was a movement. It was a big movement. The disciples had already, when you look at the history, they had already started to move and spread. But when they were taken out, the doctrine was Christianity. And let me tell you what else was hijacked. It's not just Christianity. The identity of being a Hebrew was hijacked. It was hijacked, totally hijacked. In fact, you can read in some of the books, and I like the documentation that when Brother Benaiah Israel and I were over in High Point, North Carolina, when he did his presentation, he showed John Ogilvy, and in John Ogilvy's book, he had indicated that how some of the travelers took interest in the writings that the black Jews or black Portuguese Jews had, and that was the Hebrew language. And in fact, John Ogilvy and some of the other people like him, it fascinated them that these travelers were taking an interest in this writing, as they said, that looked like chicken scratch, like somebody just, it's just the way Hebrew is. Hebrew has no letters, it has no vowels, it has symbols. I'm talking about Paleo Hebrew. But yet they took interest, they wanted to learn it, and they did. But this is when things were hijacked. And so you had the Khazars who really hijacked it and took it. And of course, that's a whole different subject. But that's what happened. It was hijacked and it was took. And then Christianity came in on the other side. And so you had the separation were forced with Christianity, and they were forced to be baptized under the Romish Christian doctrine. And then the Bible was completely, the faces and the characters were taken away, and history from there, things got. But getting back to Emperor Constantine, they used the Catholicism as a platform to take and conquer the world. That's what they did. They used that. And the King James, King Edward, all of those of Spain, and they did a number on the world. And this is why, again, the scripture says this fourth beast would not rule with hands. So this is why the whole earth, all of the kingdoms of the earth, come December the 25th, they're going to have a Christmas tree. And that's what Rome did. That's the doctrine that Rome laid on the table. And people have been doing it for years. If you don't do it, then you be called Antichrist. And that's the emotionalism. That's the impact put behind not celebrating Christmas. Somebody can say, you Antichrist. How can you not celebrate the birth of Christ, the birth of the Son, and not knowing that the word son was a play on words with S-U-N. And so when you show them all of this, you have to show them, the strategy is to show them all of the background and the history, and then turn around and show them that it doesn't exist in the scriptures. It doesn't exist. It's not there. You have to go into the fact of showing people the egg and what happened, how many Babylonian cultures worship the egg. So that's why the bunny rabbit and all of that stuff came in. Brother Azza says Psalms 83. Thank you, my brother. Brother Azza, I'm looking forward to seeing you this weekend, my brother. I hope that you're going to be in Chicago. It's about 20 of us catching a flight. We'll be there early Sabbath morning. Early Sabbath morning. I think our plane lands at about 8:30 in the morning. And some of the brothers up there have reached out. They're going to come pick us up, and we're looking forward to spending the day with you guys up there. So one of the things that Constantine did, it's still going on today, and that is through religion, have everybody on the same page. And this is where Sunday creeped in. This is where Easter creeped in. This is where Santa Claus creeped in. I mean, these are things, it just creeped in. Valentine's Day, all of this stuff creeped in right inside the church. It just creeped in. And once it creeped in, it's been going on for a long time. And the play of children, oh, it's for the children, the children, the children. And that's why it's hard. Some people are going to say, well, what's the harm? Because if they don't know the origin, and they don't know the origin, but you got to be very careful. Just because you don't know the origin doesn't mean that you're not worshiping something else ignorantly. So you have to be careful when you do that. So we're going to be getting into that in the month of August. I'm sorry, the month of November. We're going to be getting into that and breaking it down. We're going to break it down in sections. That way you can look at, I'm going to have like part 1, 2, 3, 4. But each one of those parts is going to have a title of its own. And so you'll know what's going on with that. And when I do a live lesson on that, I'm going to follow it up with these little 15-minute lessons. And it may be like 4 or 5 of those, so that you can get a quick overview of this. Like I may show a quick lesson on the 4 kingdoms of the earth. Then I might show another 15-minute segment on how Rome differed from all of the other kingdoms of the earth. Then I'm going to show one where Constantine and his background. And after I get out of who Constantine is and who his background is, I want to discuss the strategy that Constantine used to unite all of the kingdoms of the earth, and how that strategy is still working today. And it's going to come back. It's not gone. See, those 10 toes was the rise and fall of Rome 10 times. And we're on the final 10th right now. And the way you're going to see Rome come back, when I say come back, it's already came back. But when you see how it's just going to just flourish up and make everyone feel, wow, the king is in his temple. See, when he gets over there into Rome, into Jerusalem, and Israel accepts it, it's going to be almost like, wow, this has to be the king that's going to rule on the earth. This is God's will. And once you see it, you're going to think twice and you're going to know. That's why the scripture says, if they tell you this or that, don't go. This is why it's important to understand the book and be careful that we don't fall into what I consider to be false hopes. False hopes wherein something doesn't transpire and it causes you to lose hope in the book. And then you will start to ignore certain things and go to outside books. It's not going to give you all the information. So that's why I always say be a little careful when you say the scriptures are conflicting. Brother Frederick left me a message and he says, Pastor, even the translator said that they had certain words that they had problems with. I'm not talking about words that they had problems translating over from the Masoretic text. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about that the Bible, if it says this much time, it's not really that much time. And I'm dealing with Exodus 12 and 40 and 41. Even the translators from the King James Version Bible, it's well known that the translators stated that one of the kings who they have listed as 8 years old, it wasn't 8, it's 18. So, see, those things they put up front during the translation. So, once they went back and looked at it, it was agreed upon that that was a mistake, because there's never been a king in Israel 8 years old. So they knew that it had to be 18, and they put that. Those little things are put out up front. But that's not a contradiction when the translators let you know. What I'm considering a contradiction is when somebody says something like Exodus 12 and 40 and 41, where it clearly states how long Israel was there, and then somebody says, oh, it couldn't have been that. It was only either 215 to 350 years that they were in Egypt. That's wrong. That's not right. So we know the Bible's incorrect when it stated that. That's the danger. That's the danger when you say the Bible's incorrect in what it stated. But getting back to paganism, the lesson that I'm going to be doing on that is we're going to really dive into Roman history. Not long, I just want to show you the political issues that was taking place and why Rome was very cautious to form a method of being in power for a long time. Think about it. Right now, Vatican City is a government on your own. Shaw's Rich says we need to keep our mind on the book. Yes, we do. And this is one of the reasons why I agree with you. But when these pagan holidays come up, when we're dealing with family members who are claiming something is in the book that's not in the book, one of the ways to bring them out of it is to show them that what they think is in the book is not in the book, but not only that, where it came from. And because the Bible does not concentrate, because it's a book of righteousness, it's not concentrating on pagan worship. He just said, don't do it. Jeremiah 10:1 says, learn not the way of the heathen. For one going to the forest and cut down a tree, fasten it up right with nails, and deck it with silver and gold. So that's all you know. But when you go into other areas to let you know what was politically taking place, it'll give a person who is coming out an opportunity to understand, wow. And so when the Bible says in Jeremiah that they were worshiping the Queen of Heaven, well, you can go outside of the Bible into history books and find out what that Queen of Heaven is and show that it's a star day or Easter, and showing you that it was about how the egg got in there. Bunny rabbits laying with eggs. So once you see that, then it will make them think and say, well, wow, I knew we always celebrated the resurrection of the Messiah, even though it's the wrong day. It will make them think, well, I never knew why we were laying bunny rabbits and having Easter egg hunts. I just thought it was just something we did for the kids. Because a lot of people think that. A lot of people don't know why they have the mistletoe and they're kissing each other under the mistletoe. They have no idea what that means and what the root of that comes from. And this is why Satan was so shrewd in bringing in Christmas and indoctrinating into the church. You have to be as shrewder to go back, and you got to unroot everything. I will say this. I believe people are waking up today like they have never done before. I think it's the information age that makes people look and research. The information is there. Now, one of the things that we have to do is that we have to spark people to look. Because other than that, people will not look. I'm telling you, you can tell people to look, they won't research. So this is why sometimes those of us that have platforms got to do little short lessons as quick as possible to hold the attention and really hit it. You really do. You gotta do that. And when I do this, this is not for my viewers. This is for the family members of my viewers and my subscribers. Because most of the subscribers that I have are individuals that know the truth. But they often ask, what are the ways that we can reach our family? I mean, how can we reach our family? How can we help wake them up? And that's always the thing. How do we wake people up? I would tell you this. Something happened in that 2015, 2016 time, especially 2015, that it just, the Most High just woke up a lot of people to the truth, to the fact that we are the people of the book. I'm talking about, it's not new information. That's not new information. That's been information out there for a very long time. But at the magnitude that it is today, through social media, it is so much out there that, when I mean the information, the subject that we are the people of the book, that it's amazing. People are leaving the Romish Christian churches, being the Baptists, the Methodists, the Christian churches. They're leaving. They're leaving. People from 18 to 35, they have left. And as a matter of fact, don't count out the season. What I mean by the season, the senior citizens, the seasoned citizens. Don't forget them. Because, as I was sharing with you, we just baptized a lady that was 80 plus years old this past Sabbath, because she came into the truth, the knowledge of the truth. I had spoken on the phone to a lady. She told me she was in her 70s. She's in just outside of Kansas. And her husband was the pastor. He passed. He's deceased. And she told me right off the bat, she says, My husband was a pastor. He was a Christian first day pastor, but my eyes were opened up. And, you know, it's a ministry that they built. So, you know, don't count out people. You can't. So, a lot of people are coming into the knowledge of the truth. Some people are always going to say, what difference does it make? And I'm an individual, I will quickly tell you, Israel is the apple of his eye, but when it comes to the law, everybody that wants to enter into the kingdom, you must be a keeper of this book. Everybody. That's why Exodus 12 and 49, Numbers 15 and 15 says that the same law that's for the children of Israel is the same law for the stranger. One ordinance that's for us is going to be the same ordinance for Israel. So that's just the way that is. So yes, a lot of people are, we just need to help gather people and wake them up, because based upon prophecy, it is unfolding right before our eyes. Now, about 2 years ago, I have subjects where we talked about the 200 million army, and we talked about who that army was, because remember, these are descendants of the four beasts, whether they're the Babylonians, the Medes, and the Persians, whatever, they're part of that army. Now, what I did show, and I identified Russia, China, and Turkey. So look at what's happening now. Turkey was over there fighting. The United States left out, and President Trump says, we're moving our troops out. And the Kurds were upset because Turkey was just sitting there wiping everybody out. But because they needed help, Russia came in, and right away people would start to say, man, this president seems like he's working for Vladimir Putin. Seems like that, why would he allow Russia to come into Turkey and Syria like that? I mean, Russia went into Venezuela. That's why America didn't go over there and help that individual over there in Venezuela in that issue, because Russia came in. And so Russia is really taking over the Middle East. They're becoming the police over there. So we see prophecy unfolding. Turkey has the largest army in the Middle East. If you didn't know that, check it out. They got the largest organized army in the Middle East. And who are they playing ball with? Russia. Who is China playing ball with now? Russia. Look at what side they are on the Euphrates River. It's all right there. This thing is, I mean, the pieces, you can just see the pieces of the puzzle moving. And if you know prophecy, you know what the next move is going to be. And whenever you see a move, you say, well, there it goes. It's lining up. It's lining up. So, yes, Russia is the end-time superpower with China. It is. Absolutely. And Turkey's going to be there with them. So when you see this stuff, you be like, wow, man, look at these pieces of the puzzle move around. And this is why when I started to look at the 400-year anniversary, if it was Egypt or the United States, coming out with great substance, at this time of the game, at this time of end time prophecy, doesn't match anything. It's just not there. And so when August the 25th went by and September, you know, it's no. You got people saying now, oh, it's not really till next year now. That's what I've been hearing lately. Oh, it's not this year, it's next year. Because this year is really the 399th. Next year, it's going to happen. And then you got people saying, no. It's this year, but it takes a while. Prophecy doesn't happen that quick. Let me tell you something. I'm gonna show, when it comes to the Most High, let me show you how quick prophecy works when God says something, okay? When God told the children of Israel, get you, he told them at the beginning of the month, this month is the first month of the year to you. On the 10th day of this month, I want y'all to get a lamb. And when you get a lamb, I want you to keep it until the 14th day, and I want everybody at the same time to kill their lamb in the evening. And then I want you to take the blood of that lamb and put on the doorposts of your houses. Now, if you don't, there's going to be a death angel that comes through, and it's going to kill everybody. And sisters, that don't take a lot of time for God to move. It don't. Okay? When Moses' back and the children of Israel's back was against the Red Sea, and Pharaoh and his army was coming, the angel of the Lord said, stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. Stretch out that staff. That Red Sea opened up. So the Almighty don't need time for prophecy to fulfill. If this was the 400-year anniversary, you were supposed to come out on the self-same day that you came in. That's what happened in Israel in Egypt. The Bible says they came in and went out the self-same day that they came in. So if the first slave ship came here August of 1619, we supposed to have been out. If it was the 400, it is the 400th anniversary. You can't change that. That's the real deal. This is the 400th anniversary of the transatlantic slave trade for us being in the United States. Other people were scattered elsewhere, and they have an anniversary date too. But in America, it might be our 400th anniversary, but other people have some too. So we're not taking away from Deuteronomy 28, Leviticus 26. That's real. But if you're going to say that it's Genesis, the 15th chapter, what happened in Exodus, the 12th chapter, verse 40 and 41, is supposed to have happened this year. If that's the 400th anniversary. If everybody said it was, you're supposed to come out the same day that you came in. And it didn't happen. No, because that's not what I'm talking about right now. So what I'm basically saying is we have to break these things down in a way that family can get it. That we really do. And it don't take the Most High a lot of time to fulfill. Trust me. Believe this. If you don't believe nothing else, believe this. The scripture says that when you see that abomination of the desolation stand in the holy place, go back and read Daniel, 7th chapter. Watch what happens. He's going to operate for 42 months, which is 3.5 years, to the date, to the pinpoint. And once that happens, once that temple is being built in Jerusalem, and once he goes in, it's 3.5 years. It's not a process. It's not anything. The tribulation is going to be 3.5 years, because the scripture says this guy is going to do some damage. Okay, he's going to do some damage, but that's why in Revelations, the 12th chapter, says there's going to be a place of safety provided for Israel. for 1,260 days, or for a times and a half a time. See, all the prophets say it differently, but they saying the same thing. None of them contradict. So this is right now. It ain't time to be getting angry over 400 years in America. Right now, it's time to be getting your life together. Better get that thing together. You want to know. You want to understand. Because let me tell you, you can easily fall. Let me tell you what happened in the 60s. Let me tell you what happened in the 60s. True story. In the 60s, this 400-year anniversary thing came up. When it didn't happen, y'all know where a lot of Hebrews went to? They became Muslims. Elijah Muhammad was a Hebrew Israelite before he became a Muslim. I'm not joking, check it out. The man was a Hebrew Israelite before he was a Muslim. Go back and check it out. But when things did not unfold the way he thought it was, the man went to a whole different theology. You can check this out for yourself. I'm not breaking this up. I'm telling you. Elijah Muhammad was a Hebrew Israelite before he became a Muslim. Because Farad Muhammad was able to get to him because he was vulnerable, because he had little confidence in the scriptures, because when something didn't pan out the way he thought it should pan out, oh, something's wrong with the book, the Bible. So he went over to the Quran. That's what happened in a nutshell. In a nutshell, that's what happened. So when this 400th anniversary thing don't pan out, what are some of y'all gonna do? You gonna lose faith in the scriptures? Or you gonna do like Daniel and say, let me pray, because I read Jeremiah, I thought this is the way it's supposed to be, but it ain't happening. So that's what I want to know. Are you going to become an Egyptologist? You understand what I'm saying? So that's all that I'm saying with this whole thing, is that you got to, some people are going to be upset and angry, and they're going to think something's wrong with the book. So let me say this. I do thank all of you all for just tuning in and being with me while I took this long drive. I drove from Fort Lauderdale to West Palm Beach. It was a long drive. I didn't do so bad. I figured it'd be about an hour. But let me say this. Brother Azza, I saw you on here. Brother, I'm looking forward. He says, that's why I did my lesson on 400 years, for the same reason. Brother Azza, y'all go to Brother Azza's channel, and Brother Azza, let people know where they can do that. Mr. Johnson, you said King James Version has no, how is that possible when the King's translator said they made mistakes? Well, Brother Frederick, I had made mention, I thought you were on here, but I did type you something. What the translators said that they made mistakes in was translating certain words. So for instance, we know that when they said that the king was 8 years old, they told us that's not 8, that's 18. So what I'm talking about when it comes to, it doesn't conflict itself. I'm not talking about words that they made known to us, that the translators informed us of. But you don't have a translator saying, oh, sorry, we said 400 years in the book of Exodus, but we really don't know. See, they didn't say that. But certain words, they put it on the table. We had problems translating this word, how we were going to translate this word into English, and I respect that. They from the Masoretic text I hope I'm saying it right. They made that known. Hey, listen, we had little problems with that. So that's not considered an error or a conflict. What I'm saying is not a conflict, and there's no errors or conflicts. You're not going to have Daniel saying that that we're going to heaven and we're going to resurrect and we're all going to go to heaven and live in the kingdom with the Father in heaven. And then you got another prophet saying, no, we're going to resurrect and we're going to be here on earth. So that's what I mean by conflict. The Bible does not conflict. No prophet. All the prophets are saying the same thing. And all throughout the book, it talked about Israel being in Egypt for 400 years. So there's no conflict at all. There's no conflict in the scriptures at all. And I'm not talking about translation of words that the translators informed us about. And the number one is where they said, they were talking about one of the kings of Israel, and they said he was 8 years old. The translators put on the table said, that's not true. It wasn't 8, it was 18. So I hope that answered your question. Brother Judah Trees, 1 hour. Yes, I'm from Miami. Brother Judah, I don't know if we've met, but I hope you stop in at Bethel sometimes just to say hello. We're in Fort Lauderdale. Stop in and say hello to us, because maybe I know who you are, but maybe not by that name. Your YouTube thing. So listen, thank you all for tuning in. I have to look for Palm Beach Gardens Hospital. So one of the evangelists is sick, and I'm going to go do a visit and keep her in prayer. So that being said, peace. We'll talk soon. And Friday night, we're going to be ironing some of this other stuff out. Okay? We'll talk soon. Gotta go to MapQuest.